Hello, so I'm going to talk about some of the split pages that we did. I'm going to start with Jane Elliott and the documentary A Class Divided. She had former students come back for a reunion and they watched the documentary that they were in as a child. And I really liked that they did this because it was a great way for all of them just to see each other again, but also it gave them a chance to really discuss this important issue. Um, Something that for some reason just really caught me off guard was just how nonchalantly and just like casually the one child in the film used the N word. I understand that these were different times and different like circumstances. I don't know, but like it's just obviously times have changed, but it's crazy to me that even then it was just so normal for elementary school kids to say this. Um, and during the experiment, you really saw how quickly the children changed once they were given that power and that ranking, in a sense. Um, in the experiment that we saw with the adults, we also see a lot of pushback from them. Rather than with kids, they're just like, okay, cool, go with the flow. While with like adults, you have more of a barrier you have to get through for them to just cooperate with it, but also like really, they're not gonna like just let you bully them in a sense. They're gonna really like um, stand their ground. And in a sense, the adults acted like what was being discussed wasn't important, simply because they don't experience on it. Oh my god, experience it on a day-to-day basis. It's important that everyone learns this lesson because you could come across as racist even when you aren't trying to, and obviously no one likes to be treated as a child, but in this case it was absolutely necessary in order to get some of these points across with the adults. The next, excuse me, the next video we watched was called White Privilege 101, um, and something that really just like right off the bat, they had a disclaimer at the beginning of the video, and I understand why they included it, but the fact that they even have to include a disclaimer at all saying like we're not trying to offend anyone, more specific, like we're not trying to offend white people by what we're saying, just proves that there's a problem. Because like it's an informational video, you shouldn't have to put a disclaimer at the beginning for something like that. Like it's just, I don't know, it really like just boggles my mind. um, Another thing that I found really interesting was that the video had a ASL interpreter. I just absolutely love that they had this. It's very rare to see interpreters like nowadays, like obviously in like the big, like whether it be political events or just serious events here and there, like the seriously like like the events that are televised, like they'll probably have one, but like you don't really see it too often on like little like talk show hosts or something like that. So um, a quote that probably everyone has heard before is "I don't see color." This saying really just bothers me because overall it's just a quick way to try and prove that you're not racist, when in reality you don't have to see color because you have white privilege, so you don't have to worry about many things that other people have to worry about. And just saying I don't see color, you're just avoiding the problem. You're not trying to even understand where they're coming from. You're just like, no, I don't see color. I'm not racist. Like, that's not how it works. Um, and again, like, white privilege just gives you an automatic advantage. Whether you see it firsthand or not, it's there. This world and its laws were created by and for white people. So you can't deny that it didn't help you be as successful as you are, because it's the basic foundation of America at this point. Um, and finally, people of color don't want your sympathy for why you have white privilege. They really just want you to recognize it and to learn from it, that you can better yourself, and then when you see it out in public, you can call it out for other people. It doesn't have to be in a rude way, just be like, hey, what you said wasn't at all appropriate and it needs to be stopped. And finally, the last video we watched was how structural racism works. Obviously, racism in this country has been the root of our darkest moments. That sentence alone is just so important, and I don't think everyone really understands it. Everyone will say, like, yeah, racism's been around for a while, but no one really, like, gets that it's truly has been. It's always been a thing, whether it was obvious or not. And it still is today. Brown University is making conscious efforts to create a just and inclusive campus. Overall, when they were just talking about it, it made me really happy that they're really taking the time to recognize and find ways to fix it publicly, rather than just trying to put in the bare minimum quietly and not discuss it, and like not just kicking it under the rug. They're actually addressing it with everyone. Something that was mentioned, just like a term that was brought up, was one bad apple. This term overall just bothers me because sure, you may only have one person that may have done a bad thing, but if 5 other people knew about it and just kicked it under the rug and said nothing, then at that point they're just as bad as the person who did it. It's just effective morals there. Like, if you feel that something isn't right and you watch someone do it and you do nothing about it, you're essentially part of the problem. And finally, there is a way in which media almost dehumanizes the victim, saying that he was an uneducated drug dealer or just overall just uneducated. This normalizes the status quo and makes it seem that if he was educated, this wouldn't have happened. The media loves to point out all of the negative aspects of a person rather than, and even if there were positive, like all positive aspects, simply because of his skin color or their skin color, that's why it happened for the most part. Like, that's usually the reasoning to why things happen and why people fall victim. And the media just discusses, well, because they did all these bad things, so it's okay. Like, no. It was never okay from the get-go. Whether it happened to, no matter who it happens to, it's not okay. But because you're just trying to justify it with all of these things that may or may not have happened in their past, doesn't make it okay. So, that's all I have.